Hi, how are you today? In this video, we're going to bust a few myths about PTSD. I'm Huey. I'm a licensed professional counselor at Heart to Heart with Me. Before we dive into busting those myths, I've talked about what traumatic events and PTSD are in this video. Check it out if you haven't already. The first myth: only veterans or people who are affected by natural disaster would develop symptoms of PTSD. The definition of PTSD is: it's a psychiatric disorder that may occur in people who have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event, series of events, or set of circumstances. An individual may experience this as emotionally or physically harmful or even life-threatening and may affect mental, physical, social, and/or spiritual well-being. Examples include natural disasters, serious accidents, terrorist acts, war, combat, rape, sexual assault, historical trauma, intimate partner violence, and bullying. And victims of abuse such as childhood abuse, narcissistic abuse. As mentioned in the definition, traumatic events are not just about war and natural disasters. Also take note that anyone who experienced or witnessed a traumatic event could develop symptoms of PTSD. Note that it says witness as well. Just because you didn't experience it firsthand doesn't mean that it didn't make an impact on you. Myth number 2. All who experience a traumatic event would develop symptoms of PTSD. That's a myth. Not all who experience a traumatic event would develop symptoms of PTSD. You may ask then, why do some people that experience the same traumatic event develop symptoms of PTSD and some don't? That's a very good question, but that's a deep topic for another day. But for this video, if you forgot about everything else that I mentioned, it's important that you remember this. It is not because you are weak. Because I've come across victims of abuse that say to themselves, I'm folding under this pressure, I must be weak. That is not true, which ties into myth number 3. That is, only the weak develop symptoms of PTSD. Allow me to repeat that again. It is not true. Just because you develop symptoms of PTSD after a traumatic event, it doesn't mean that you are weak or any less resilient than others. You've been pushed beyond the normal limits of human experience. None of us know how we would react in traumatic situations until it happens to us or happen right in front of us. Like myself, as much as I'm informed about this, it doesn't prevent me from developing symptoms of PTSD after a traumatic event because I simply won't know how I would react in those circumstances. Myth number 4. PTSD makes people violent. Again, not true. At least not entirely true. Hear me out. The reason is sometimes people who experience PTSD symptoms would use substance such as alcohol or drugs to fight those symptoms because it's just too much to handle, and it is the substance use that increase the risk of violence rather than PTSD itself. So above are some of the myths about PTSD. If you find this information helpful, give us a like and subscribe. If you have any question, comment down below and let us know. If this topic interests you, watch this next video. You are encouraged to use the information in this video to improve your mental health. However, this is not a substitute for professional help.